Welcome to yet another opinion video. This one is about the Swedish black metal band Watain and a story I kinda was part of creating today on social media. So let's start with the email I got. There was this label. I'm not gonna mention any of names which are unnecessary, which are not basically related to the story, because it doesn't matter and it's not like I wanna name or shame anything like that. But let's start with the mail. So I got email from a label about the basic style kind of stuff that there are interview slots coming up and would you like to interview blah blah blah. This is sent to the media, every different countries, and just basically normal email about interview slots coming up. As if you're aware by now, they have a new album coming up. I think it was January something 2018. So Watain is finally back after many years of silence, at least when it comes to full-length albums. But what caught my attention was the underlined fact in like red big letters was that only big medias, no websites or small fanzines or anything like that. Normally I wouldn't have paid any attention to this kind of note because it doesn't just get me alarmed or feel weird or anything like that. But when you get those kind of emails like on a weekly basis, almost daily basis, this and that rock band or this and that metal band or whatever band is making an interview with Skype or face-to-face, email, whatever. There's basically never this kind of comment or mention that only big medias. It doesn't matter if it's a really big band or just some like small band. It's just basically there reads that these are the dates, these are the scheduled times, blah blah blah. Contact if you want to do the interview. As you know, as a follower of Rauta, probably you know that we only do face-to-face interviews, which is pretty much clear via video channel, a TV channel, or YouTube, whatever channel. Thing is, we do face-to-face video. It doesn't make sense for us to do any kind of other interviews. So that's beside the point. But it got me thinking. Watain is a black metal band. It's not a big band, but it's definitely more than an underground name. It's one of those bands that are basically climbing up the ladder, towards being bigger. Not maybe, that really heavyweight type of bands, Metallica, Iron Maiden, all that stuff. But black metal wise, it's climbing the ladder for sure. It has become one of those names that are actually among the most recognized bands. They have this bad boy outfit, the way they look, the appearance, the imagery, their stage performance with blood and all that stuff. Clearly some good albums as well. So yeah, why not to like this band if you're into black metal? Except that Watain is a really weird case. Let me go a bit back in the history when it comes to the band, because I remember when it was around 2005, I think, yes, something like that, when I saw they been playing live, in Finland. And back then they were more like, this underground band when lots of Finnish metalhead heads, the black metal guys and girls obviously, came to see the show, and it was in a small venue, not anything big happening. It was just one of those Nordic black metal bands that, everybody liked, and they were like cool, and there was sort of mysticism around them, and everything was just basically fine. They were like, name and a band that people tended to honor. They were cool. They had opinions which were something that people in the scene might relate to and all that stuff. So everything was pretty okay. But I don't know what happened, and I don't actually remember when it exactly started to happen, but they started to become a bit more bigger, a bit more commercial, one might say. And they were like clearly could be seen this kind of divide in the people's reactions. And I'm obviously still talking about the black metal people, not about the general population who don't have a clue what this kind of band is. So then basically people were getting divided. Some were like, yeah, they're still cool, they are badass, they are satanic, they are all that stuff and this and that. And some people were just saying like, I don't like them, they're assholes or whatever. Just basically, giving me the basic rant that they don't like this kind of band because they're going to the wrong direction, maybe becoming too commercial or too mainstream or whatever. So things, go forward, but they also, kind of do more sloppier albums. I don't think, and I'm not claiming that these are anything but coincidence, but they were happening both, kind of at the same pace. The more they got audience, the more kind of a commercial sound they were getting and so forth. So this kind of a dividing thing, I think it happened even more, except that when there was longer pause between albums, people started to forget, or at least they were not talking about the band in question anymore because it was just not like this hype thing anymore. It was not the new band that were out with 2 or 3 albums. It was just one of the Swedish black metal bands. Like we have millions of them, and it was not anymore one of these newcomers that had something really extreme, something really satanic, something really occult, something really, I don't know. They were not the new kid anymore with some cool ideas. Maybe they had some wrong opinions, maybe they were annoying people, pissing them off or whatever. But the thing is that, people started to talk less and less about them and they just became one of the many bands in the so-called gray zone. The stuff what I'm talking about it is between the mainstream and the underground, the gray area, so to speak. So now that after a few years album break, the band is back and they are already doing interviews a couple of months ahead of the actual release, and there's this bold, red text, big letters saying, not only big media, no websites. And it kind of feels weird. It feels weird for many reasons. The first thing that hit my brain is this like the last line of, the barrier between being a commercial band openly and or being on the other side just like an uncommercial band, like the kind of like still holding to the black flame of underground black metal and all that stuff. Now I made this kind of really short status update on my Facebook because I have lots of friends who are more or less related to the black metal scene in Finland or otherwise. And of course, most of the times on Facebook, people just react by giving a like or one of those funny emojis, those faces, angry or whatnot. Well, not angry this time, but like hilarious or whatever, funny. And people started to comment actually in very interesting ways. Some people like started to say that in kind of like in defense of Watain, like yeah, they are just doing it because they probably have so many interview requests coming up that they just can't handle them all. They don't have all the time in the world to do that. Acceptable, unless, in my opinion, it doesn't hold the water. I mean, why doesn't those those big bands have the same red big text saying like, we don't do small medias because we're a big band. We only care about the mainstream media. Yeah, Metal Hammer, Kerrang, Blabbermouth, you can do us. But if you're like, I don't know, a cult website, piss off, we don't care. Um, it's kind of like plausible. It's totally acceptable, you know, to say that we don't do those interviews because we get too many of them. But then again, they're all already promoting their album, which is coming in 2 or 3 months. So, and they're on a quite big label. It's not like they are some small underground label. So, to me, this kind of feels like there's a contradiction of sorts. At the same time, people are like, yeah, well, they are very uncommercial because if they were commercial, they would be doing more like these interviews. Yeah, might be so, but still it feels wrong because it's not like these, most of the bands which I get to see doing interviews or requests or whatever, it's not like they operate under the same, how to put it, same way in a sense of, what are the rules to do interviews or whatnot. And there were lots of comments when people were like basically trying to figure it out how it is. And some of them were just reflecting on their own bands, which is very, logical. It makes sense. Like, we get so many requests, we cannot simply do them all. So, yeah, I totally understand the band and all that stuff. And there was various, comments which to my ear or eyes actually felt really like I don't know, as if they were like not apologetic but more like trying to defend what the band is doing, even though I wasn't saying that there's anything bad doing this. It was like, I don't care if they're skipping the small ones or if they're only doing big ones. I was just wondering why. And I think one of the good comments were when people said that maybe they're just skipping some Brazilian fanzines which are just asking for a CD, T-shirt, all that kind of stuff, and asking these really stupid questions. Because there are those. Even my band history has witnessed that kind of stuff. But still, why don't those bigger names have that? Is it just because Watain is sort of a Swedish Satyricon or other big name trying to, enthrone the, uh, Scandinavian black metal throne of whatever? I don't know. Or is it because these guys just want to get their faces on some big metal magazines or whatever? I don't know. I don't get answered. I just get this kind of speculation. And considering like how many people actually give a damn about the whole band, there's a lot of discussion and pondering why they do this and that, why don't other bands do, why everybody has to do those kind of interviews. So it's kind of like a interesting case in my opinion. But then again, it's only a sort of one band thing. And maybe it was just a clever PR stunt because now I got to actually ask this question on Facebook. Now I got to do this video because of Watain had this very special text in the email. So maybe it all was just a PR stunt. Who knows? But the one funny thing still remains, of which totally deserves a video of on its own. And it is this very old question that has been haunting black metal ages and ages on. And the thing is, when are you too commercial to not be a true black metal band? And this is something I'm not gonna answer here, probably never, but it's definitely a topic that probably needs some pondering and thinking before we do it, if we do it. I think it's kind of a hot potato because people who are still trying to avoid it on this Facebook conversation, people were like trying to kind of yet again defend against this accusation of being like a commercial band, like how much can you earn until you become a commercial band? Do you need to do those kind of compromises before you're a commercial band, or can you just like tour the world, but it's not commercial unless you know make a living out of it? I don't know. There was it was so funny because black metal is basically the only metal genre in the world where people are actually making this big a fuss of whole question about commercialism and where are those boundaries and does it even matter? Because at least seems to me that it's not the Satan, it's not God, it's not death, it's not Hitler, it's not Stalin or any of those dictators that is the ultimate evil in this world. The only one to shake everybody's world eventually in the end is money. That's how it goes. But that's another story. Maybe we'll come back to it later on, maybe we don't. Feel free to dislike, feel free to like, feel free to do whatever you need to do. Comment, throw us ideas and all that stuff. Thank you for watching. If you are a new watcher of the Rauta channel and feel like checking us out more often, please click the subscribe button, which is somewhere there. And I think that's all for now. Stay metal, stay brutal, and don't die too soon.